Hi, this is Sandy. I was watching the National last night, which is a national news broadcast in Canada, and they were reporting on another hurricane coming along the Atlantic coast in the United States. And also there are several wildfires burning in Texas, especially northeast Texas, I believe. Anyway, they were interviewing a gentleman. I'm sorry, I don't remember what city he was from or town. But he was talking about as the fires are burning and they were asked to evacuate their homes. And he was saying there was very little time. They had to rush in really and decide what to save. And he said, well, I just saved my valuables. And he was naming a few things. It was kind of funny and yet sad because he said, photos, maybe some light furniture, electronics, and he said guns. So this was listed in, I think he only listed 2 or 3 things, and guns was one of the valuables that he reached for, that he saved. Now, I do understand that these things have a pretty high dollar value, and there's some practicality for him in removing them, and they're small, so he can. But I just think it's interesting to note that of all the things he could save in his home, this was one of the few things he grabbed was his guns. And it speaks to the present culture in the United States, the gun culture, of which there has been a lot of discussion and exposure about in the last 5, 6, 7 years. And as I learn about it, I find it shocking and kind of pathetic that we have, as human beings, allowed this to occur. And the number of shootings and killings, there are several, I'm sorry, I don't know how many right now, but several shootings and killings with guns that are owned by individuals in the U.S. So it's the fact has come to light. If these arms are in an individual's home, then it is the increase of death due to firearms, murder, whether it be in self-defense or gangs, accidents, increases dramatically. The more guns that are in people's houses, the more they are used and results in maiming or killing individuals. The numbers on this are staggering. It's not a small problem, it's a huge problem, and there are in fact huge gang wars that occur every day, and several people murdered each day in the United States due to the fact of owning guns. Now, just a common sense point, if we look at, you can look at that problem and try and manage it from the point where it is now and put these people in prison, which also costs them more money to go through a legal system. And that must be done. They must be stopped. However, it doesn't stop the problem from occurring and continuing to occur. And we as human beings have accepted this practice of having guns in our home to protect us from who? From mostly someone who would invade to steal from you. I believe as well many people die from domestic arguments. So that's one of the things I didn't mention that occurs. You have a gun in your house, you and your husband are fighting, and a lot of time someone gets killed. But let's look at where this comes from. And this comes from an acceptance, an allowance that we've occurred and accept now as equals our money system. And in the West, that would be capitalism. So we accept capitalism as just the way it is. It's like there's nothing we can do about it. There's nothing I can do about it, one individual. There's nothing I can do. It's the way it is. Capitalism has, in time, we can see divided the haves from the have-nots more and more and more, to the point where we actually are ruled by these financial markets that go up and down, and we're ruled by, really, it's the survival of the fittest again. So if you have are fortunate enough to be born into a home where you receive a education and enough support, emotional support, so that you're able to learn what needs to be learned, and these values are passed on from generation to generation. So this is what I do. I go to school, I get an education, I get a job. And that's the path to the American dream. I don't want to just pick on the United States. It's in Canada as well. However, the sad fact is that there are millions of people who do not have this opportunity. It's spoken, the words are spoken that they do have the opportunity, but in actual fact, that's not the case. Many people don't have the support they need: financial support, education support, emotional support from families, parents, to be able to become that person who can stand on their own and find a regular job to support themselves. And so, for several reasons, they turn to a life of crime. One of the easy ways to do this is in the drug trade. Let's say, for example, in the drug trade, it's a very violent trade, and they use guns. Because I know this, for example, and I live in the United States, and I know that there are several people outside my door who have guns, who use guns on a daily, nightly basis, or I have money and a home, but there are several people just right outside my door who don't have a job, who don't have income, who resort to stealing, to crime, to purchase food, to purchase drugs, to get money, who resort to crime just to survive. I'm certainly not condoning this. I'm not condoning it at all. So I am afraid. I'm very afraid. I'm afraid for myself and the safety of my family. Therefore, I purchase a gun, have it in my home. And a gun is, say, $1,000 or $2,000. So a fire comes along, and that's one of the things I grab. And it was said so matter-of-factly, and it's so accepted. It's accepted as normal. So I think probably lots of people who heard the same newscast that I did maybe did raise an eyebrow and go, "Oh my God, listen to that. That's shocking. That the photo album of my children and my guns. These are the two valuables I chose to take from my home because I'm afraid it's going to be burned in the fires." So it's just become accepted. We just accept it and allow it because it's so common. And, the consequences of this, of course, one of the consequences of this are that the guns are then there and that they're used. Maybe sometimes in self-protection, other times in domestic violence. I do understand in some places, in some states, guns are used for hunting. That's not really what I'm talking about here. So just a point that it's sad. I think it's kind of pathetic that we don't see the absurdity of this, grabbing the pictures of our kids and our guns and running out the door. These are our valuables. And we at Destiny are proposing an equal money system in which each human being, not according to where they're born or what family they're born into or where they live on the planet, but each human being is not only entitled to equal money to survive, to pay, to exist, to get what they require, and live a dignified life. In an equal money system, this would be the exact case. Each person would be receiving the same or very similar amount of money to support themselves and or their family. And that is one point of the equal money system. So please investigate destiny. Thank you.